Hello, everybody. It is your boy, Sports Boy, aka Jesse Gibson. Welcome to another episode of Hobby Nonsense. Hope your week's going swimmingly. I tell you that it's going to be a fun episode, and then, of course, you're so excited when it is inevitably a fun episode. But I'm going to tell you again, it's another fun episode for a little bit different reason. We've got a gentleman joining by the name of Lucas Mast. He is going to be joining to basically discuss everything I want to know about the world of pop culture cards. He is kind of like a general collector. His collection of apparently is very vast as far as what all he collects: Pop Century, other celebrity autos, TV, movie, entertainment cards, that kind of thing. But he seems to know a good bit about a lot of different things. So we're going to touch on some of that when he joins. We also have a mailbag segment, which is going to be a little bit new for this show specifically. Of course, Sports Cards Nonsense is very well known for our mailbag, but now I'm going to try and incorporate it, not every episode, but occasionally at least. So we've got that to look forward to as well. I also wanted to talk about a couple releases coming out here in the next few days, but also I just wanted to say, hey, just check in, see how you guys are doing. I don't think we do that enough as podcasters. We don't reach out and say, hi, how are you, Joe Tabiola? That's not a real name. I made that name up, I'll admit, but insert your name there. I just wanted to say hi and just see how you were. That said, I did want to do one other thing, and this is, I will tell you, it's a sponsor-related thing. Courtyard basically is just a vending machine. It's like a vending machine of any kind where you put money in and then they give you a card back. The only difference is vending machines don't often offer to buy back what you are purchasing for at least 90% of what you paid for it, even if the value of that thing that you got was way less than 90%. So that's what Courtyard does, though. I am going, and I spent $50 on a $50 Pokemon pack. I wanted to reveal it while we're all here together. I don't know if the audio will play or not, but I'm going to hit the reveal button. There's a little graphic that happens. My card's spinning. It's revealing. This could be undervalued. It could be overvalued. I have no idea. I got a 2017 XY Black Star Mew Holo PSA 9. They're offering a buyback of it immediately for $97. I bought it for $50. Now I need to decide if I'm keeping that or I want to sell it. But that's kind of cool how that works. The fact that it worked and I didn't get a card that was less than $90 or $50 that I spent also really helps me. So new releases have been a little, what's the word? Slow this summer for non-sport. I feel like we were on a good roll there. Granted, it was a lot of Star Wars. I will say too much Star Wars, but we at least had product coming out from Top specifically. Upper Deck still was having a decent amount, but it feels like we've kind of slowed down, at least on the more quality releases. We've got one coming up, of course. I talked about it last episode. The 2025 Marvel Topps Chrome product will be coming out middle of June. Very excited about that. We'll talk more about it as we get closer. I was looking at like the Steel City non-sport calendar. The Rolling Stone product, honestly, I think is maybe the only product between now and middle of June. So I know that's only 2 weeks from now, but we really haven't had much over the last couple weeks even. So there's just going to be Rolling Stone cards with it's $50 a hobby box, a hobby mega box, excuse me. I'm trying to find out what like hobby boxes, if there's another kind other than mega boxes. It may be that is the only option that comes out. But anyways, those hobby mega boxes are $50 each, and they will have 7 cards per pack, 6 packs per box, 4 numbered base parallels, and 2 silver base parallels on average. So I will say $50 is not bad, at least. Why are we making this product if we're not going to include things from the musicians who are still alive? You know, like we could put a lot of things in here. I'm worried this is a swing and a miss. So apparently there are Pogs. Pogs are a thing again. I'm sure we all know what Pogs are. I'm not going to explain what a Pog is. It's a round circular disc. That's it. It's a round circular disc. There's no other explanation you need. Mike, one of the admins for the SCN Facebook group and just a good guy overall, he messaged me earlier today and just saying, if you asking if I've checked this out, there's a hobby box on pogunlimited.com, which apparently is the authority, the licensed Pog manufacturer, but they are selling these hobby boxes of Pogs for like $120. You will get, it says 12 packs containing 96 Pogs, one Kenny Slammer. I don't know what Kenny, Kini, 12 foil Pogs, up to 4 serial numbered Pog parallel designs, and in each box, 1 serial numbered exclusive hobby collector insert. Obviously, Pog has taken a card, has taken a note. I don't know. They're doing what the card world has done, right? Like they're trying to add some kind of chase element to this. They're adding more rarity features to it. I can't see Pogs becoming a thing again. I'll be honest. I'm not trying to sound negative because I was not high on the Rolling Stone product either. I can't see it, but I can honestly say I want to see it. I would love to see like kids, middle schoolers, not grown adults necessarily, but I'd love to see kids getting into Pogs. I feel like we've like gotten past, like kids' brains can't function without some kind of real colorful graphics and or screen content, and maybe they've got it with the color. Who knows? Maybe there's enough colors popping off these Pogs. I don't know if the gameplay is going to get them. You know, once they get their hands on a slammer, who knows? So DC Sports 87 is a consigner that I work with as far as when I'm breaking on Fanatics Live. All my breaks are non-sport cards, right? Like, in fact, I just did some fun ones with some older product. So we did some 2014 American Pie looking for Taylor Swift. It was the second box I've done in a row. So I haven't done one of these in a few months because it's kind of hard to find boxes of this product that are affordable so I can actually break it where you guys aren't paying crazy amounts. But I'm looking for that Taylor Swift Kanye West rookie card. Second box I did not find it in. However, we also did some more Star Wars Mayo breaks, and then I also had a couple other little things here and there, some Minecraft and other things like that. Anytime I'm breaking anything, what I do is anybody who wants any of their cards, any of their hits to consign, I send it to DC Sports 87. I overnight a package to them. They go ahead and list it right away, which is a feature. Typically, if you're going to consign with anyone, they ask you to pay for that. But since it's a partnership, they put ours up right away. And then they list it typically for like a 5-day or so. And you get paid out whatever it sells for. Typically how that works is you can use it as breaking credit and I'll give you a little extra. It's pretty straightforward. I think every card breaking site should have some kind of feature like this where they partner with a consigner. I'm very glad DC Sports is working with us on this, but they are also doing a huge push on the non-sport side, but specifically TCGs. So TCGs, including VFriends, they are doing until the end of June a special where you get paid out the max 95% payout of whatever your item sells for. So if you guys have anything, just as a note, it doesn't have to come through me. I don't have to send it off. If you guys send anything to DC Sports between now and the end of June, you will get the best payout possible. So Lucas Mast has joined us, and I think I'm saying this like I'm saying mass, like a mass of things, a large amount of things.
That's like more like mast on a ship.
I kind of introed you at the beginning of the show as coming on as a jack of all trades, so to speak. You kind of have like some knowledge or a decent amount of knowledge on a number of entertainment, pop culture type cards. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair to say. My wife would say that all day. And I have to give her a shout out as we record this today. It's our 13th wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary to my wife, Danielle. So I've been collecting cards and sneakers and other sorts of things like my whole life. So, it's one of those things I think, everyone has their origin story of like starting in the beginning and, as a kid and collecting and then maybe dropping it for a bit, maybe focusing on other things and then getting back into things. And I think, getting back into it is the fun part of it because there's so much stuff to talk about, to look at, I'm inspired by other people's collections.
You've been doing a bit of writing for collectibles on SI, and yes. I understand that some of those articles that you've been writing, especially I got sent over some of the data today, and you've been good enough to send it over as well. Your articles have done really well as far as what the general audience is craving to know about the non-sport world. What are some of the things that you're writing about?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And I mean, I think it's a really incredible opportunity. And like, I'm glad that they're doing it. I'm glad that, you've broken off and done the hobby nonsense stuff in addition to all the amazing stuff that you and Mike do on sports cards nonsense. I mean, it's one of those things where, like I said, there's so much stuff that you can write about. And I'm a really thirsty knowledge person, who tries to go after a little of everything. So I've written on, graduation cards 90210 and Saved by the Bell. I've written on Baywatch, and kind of the summer lifeguard themes and collectibles around that. I've written a couple of articles on the new Pope and the Topps Now card that got released. And I actually got my Leaf cards today.
I think in the wheelhouse of a lot of us where we have so much nostalgia for that time in cards where it was like, oh, my Back to the Future, I love this movie. Oh my goodness, I can get some cards of it, and or insert any other TV or movie in the early 90s, late 80s or so. Do you find when you're writing about these things that it's I don't know, more enjoyable than to say try and write something about a current modern day products?
Yeah, I think so, because as we know now, it's overwhelming the amount of cards and material that's out there. I mean, keeping track of the releases is you guys do a very commendable job to try to. I mean, but there's so much stuff. Whereas, if you think about a piece that I just turned in is on MASH, the TV show, in light of Loretta Swit's recent passing, and that's one of those things where I knew enough, but I learned more as I continue to write, and it's just fun. And looking back on those sorts of things that I either grew up watching or, as an adult may have watched reruns of things, but there literally is something for everyone who, is a collector. I mean, like you said, whether it's Dukes of Hazzards or MASH or Seinfeld or, there's a limitless amount of information that you can write. And specifically if people want to collect autographs, if they want to collect cards, if they want to collect lunch boxes, they can collect pretty much anything. I mean, that's a beautiful thing about technology in the world we live in today.
Well, my thing is, I think I enjoy it more, from just a purely nostalgic and hobby focused point of view. I like talking about some of that old wax, that would be considered junk wax, but at the same time it's I don't know if there's not as much value to it, which helps to detract some of the enjoyment. When I say value, I mean actual monetary value, because you don't have autos in most of that product. You don't have serial numbers or parallels or things like that. Occasionally you might have a foil insert of some kind, but there was just didn't have the scarcity built into it, which is what I really like about modern day collecting, because besides nostalgia, I also like the treasure hunt aspect of it, the ability to try and make money off of this thing that I also have fun doing. So I don't know. Sometimes I find it hard marrying those two things, and that's why I get excited when we find out about things like SpongeBob coming out, and the fact that Topps is putting out Marvel and Disney, and Upper Deck's putting out Batman and things like that. So where do you land on some of that?
Yeah, I feel like everything old becomes new again. I mean, and if you think about it, I was looking at prices for MASH unopened packs. Donruss came out with a set in 1982. The packs are still going for a box of them for $125. So I think there is a level of scarcity, Because there is that nostalgia for like folks like us who enjoyed it growing up or enjoyed it like later in life, and then are able to may have a little bit more disposable income and can then collect the things that they might not have bought as a kid, or like maybe their parents didn't allow them to buy it as a kid, like Garbage Pail Kids.
Did your parents not allow you to buy Garbage Pail Kid cards as a kid?
My folks were both educators. Like I think they would prefer that I didn't, but the fact that there was like a Mucus Lucas and a Locust card, as an adult, I had to have those.
Like today, you open up some of these card packs and it's like, yeah, they don't have inserts. They don't have anything numbered. That's not there. But there's still the fact of like the nostalgia, and there's still the rarity of getting that perfect condition card, right? Because that is a lot of times where a lot of value comes from these old boxes. And again, talking monetarily, but I'm switching, like my brain is very, I say unique because I feel like it should be studied because there's something wrong with it. But it's like I have a hard time keeping track of what do I care about in this moment. Do I care about just the nostalgia, or do I care about the monetary value? Like, in my head, I try and balance those out one in some way. And in this way, it's like, okay, old stuff is great. It has the nostalgia, and there is value when I consider the fact that I could maybe find that perfect cut and edges and corners are all great, and I could get a PSA 10 on whatever card it could be.
Yeah, I mean, and again, quality control back in the 70s and 80s especially was notoriously bad because people weren't grading things. So, and people weren't necessarily even putting them in binders at that point. I mean, people were rubber banding cards together, and people were just passing amongst the friends and stuff. Now, obviously, everything is like graded, top loaded, one touched, and that's all good. But I think the nice thing that you bring up is you can have the balance of that too. So like you can rip an old box of junk wax and like have those nostalgic memories and not really have a lot of value maybe. Like I recently picked up like 10 extended sports sets for like $80. And I loved just going through it and like remembering like when I was chasing those cards as a kid. And, now obviously like I have a different perspective on things, and just like you do, like I have a lot of stuff that's graded, that there's value to it. I keep cards in a safe, all of that stuff. But I still have just as much fun opening an old like $30 box of cards.
So I think there's like maybe a middle ground and or like a sweet spot for a lot of this that I found over the weekend. So almost 2010. So 2008, 2009, 10, in that area, there was a number of sets that came out from Topps, like Indiana Jones and Lord of the Rings and a number of others, where they actually started making these license card or these sets of movies, and I think it was mainly movies. I don't know how many TV sets there were, but it actually had autographed cards in there, and it had some parallels and some numbered stuff, but it wasn't like overwhelming. Like it's not like a Panini product that has 50 to 100 different parallels in there. It was just like there was a few, there was some numbered, and there were some cool autograph, even sketches in those sets. And in fact, I bought like I'm trying to get like a Star Wars one, because they've had a few Star Wars ones that came out back then, but also Indiana Jones, that box I mentioned. I've got that one being shipped out. There's also like Batman Begins, which has like these awesome Christian Bale autos in there too. But anyways, there's a number of sets that came out back then that I wish Topps would start doing again today. Like when there is a movie that comes out, I don't know how they did it back then. Honestly, I don't. Obviously, you can't do that for every movie, because we've already heard like how difficult it is to get autos from all these people. But that would be amazing if they could do something like that today.
Yeah, well, and I know you had the CEO of Rittenhouse on, and like, I know them and Inkworks and a bunch of others like did some really cool stuff on TV shows where you can pick up like cool autographs. Like my wife went to St. Mary's, and one of the people that went there was Mahershala Ali, the actor, and it turns out that like I was able to pick up one of his cards from some some old movie or TV show that he had done before, which, I mean, nowadays, Leaf Pop Century does a great job of being able to kind of give us that nostalgia, with, all the Pop Century stuff, which is really cool because, I think that's part of the nostalgia, is kind of making up for the fact that we didn't get those inserts and we didn't get those autographs, in the basic releases, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
I agree. I think 2025 Leaf Pop Century did a better job with, specifically like with the art of those cards, where like in years past you'd get like an auto from the kid who was the caddy in Caddyshack, and it would be like him as an old man today, just just got off a bus somewhere, like it didn't look, he wasn't in uniform, he didn't look anything like his character. But now you'll start to see, like the Chevy Chase National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation actually has him from that movie and not just like a random picture of him, right? So I do think that they're getting better, that product specifically. My only thing with it is how I've noticed this over the past 3 years, because I feel like I've been breaking it and or really got into it since 2023. So over 2023, 24, and 25 product, it comes out, it's really cool. Everyone's excited about it, me included. And of course, I wish it wasn't like this where I had to bring things back to money every time, but it is such a big part of it, especially when these things keep getting more expensive. But that's the thing, like it's so expensive, and you will find that within the first couple weeks, maybe a month, that if you haven't like moved your product and or sold your singles that you don't want, those prices really drop hard after that. And it's like, I just don't know what the deal is, if there's just not a big enough buyer base, or it's just people realize, there's that many one of ones, and I don't know. If you are a collector of Pop Century, have you had any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I've found that it's almost easier, and you may not like to hear this as a breaker, but it's almost easier to buy the product like after the dust has settled a little bit and pick out the people that you specifically want. Because especially if you wait a couple of weeks, the price is going to drop a little bit. Whereas I feel like, people get really excited about things, and it's really, really tough, especially with, Pop Century is a good example, but like, there's parallel examples in sports products as well, where you're like, it's crazy to think about how many cards are produced and like the amount of money that you're paying, and you're not even guaranteed that you're going to get anything. So, I'd almost rather pay a little bit more for the specific card that I want. Like I just picked up a Kelsey Grammer Pearl Leaf Pop Century, and I think I paid like $50-$60 for it. And if I probably would have ended up paying that much in a break for it, and who knows if I would have gotten anything.
Oh, absolutely. So. Yeah. I mean, and you are correct. It's just the idea of breaking the product is you can hit like the possibilities of hitting something very big. And especially when, like I think when I was breaking it a few weeks ago, there was almost like 150 spots or something like that, like something crazy, because there's literally 300 actors or something in there. So eventually you have to just start doing like alphabet ones, but then you want to single out ones like Sylvester Stallone. I only want his card, so I'll just do a single spot. So it's like, oh, well, when you start having that many, then you can't price everything at like, $50 a spot. Things start going for $5 a spot, $10 a spot for an actor. And then, yes, there are a lot of people that skunk, but then there's also, hey, I could get a one. Like there was someone who got Margot Robbie. Granted, she was one of the most expensive individual spots. I think that was like maybe 40.
Consistently expensive card.
Oh, exactly. And they do sell, but you will notice, if you didn't already, 2025's Margot Robbie's have gone down because now I guess there's more out there. But that's the thing. It was like a $50 spot or something, and they pulled 2 Margot Robbie autos from that case break. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, obviously there's a chase element to it. And I know like the non-sport world is still, I don't think they're as far along into the breaking side of things as the sport side of the hobby, but they will definitely start to notice things like this, where it's like, yes, you could wait and get it off eBay, or you could take a chance and get something, amazing for a much lower price, but you're taking a real risk. And that's where, again, a lot of this comes down to what your personal preference.
Yeah, and when you're paying like $300 a box for some things, I mean, or more, depending upon what you're buying. I mean, there's all an element of gambling involved. So
yeah, I think that no one should say that gambling, risk, call it what you will, but there's a chance that you're not going to get back what you put in. And if you're okay with that, just know what you're doing before you get into it, right? That being said, I feel like we've kind of like touched on some specific things as we've been going, but it's kind of been more generalities. What products specifically do you like and or collect or know more about?
yeah, so like setting aside the sports stuff and focusing on the non-sports stuff, I do a lot. Like I collect a lot of Pop Century because I love the celebrity auto stuff. Lately, I also really like the Entrepreneur Elf autos from VFriends, which is really cool. I mean, being able to see Damon John and Ariana Huffington and like, other cool people that like, he's kind of curated, is a fun opportunity. Like you said, with 2025 Pop Century, I like sketch cards as well. I'm a big Stranger Things fan. So like I have, 4 or 5 like artist sketch cards from the various series. And those are really, really fun as well. It's just, again, I too, like you, like the inserts and like the chase of it. And it's just fun to see. But like, I'm also kind of like you in the sense that like my mind is all over the place and my collecting is all over the place. Like I'm not really pigeonholed into one thing. I was laughing when I collected sneakers, like everyone always asked, "Oh, what do you collect?" I said, "I collect everything. Like I have New Balance, I have Jordan, I have Nike, I have like, you name it, I have it, and that's kind of the way I approach sports cards as well."
Yeah, and I think that's kind of you too. Like we like what we like, and I think that's what most collectors do, unless they are set or set builders where they have to have it to complete a set, and they may not like it, but they have to have it to complete it. But that said, I really do appreciate those that are kind of like us, where it's like their collection, if you went into the room where they kept all their stuff, there'd be no rhyme or reason to it. It's just what you like. And me specifically, I'm finding that not only do I like certain characters, but it is like the kind of card, like you mentioned, sketch cards. I have really the last episode I had a sketch artist on. I've been talking about them more because I find it so unique and interesting how they are creating another aspect of the card collecting community that has more to do with like, I feel like the artistic side. And I really do appreciate the fact that these are one of ones, even though, everything's a one of one in some way, but in the card world, we know that can mean different things, but it is unique most of the time. I just got a Jack Porkins, who is as we all know, a rebel fighter pilot for Star Wars. I got one of his sketches in. I know, Jack Porkins, rebel fighter pilot for Star Wars. Hopefully that gets cut up when this inevitably makes a post on social media. But that being said, it's so cool because there's so many colors. I do bear a slight resemblance to the man. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know how you want to view that, but I got that card and it was like something triggered in me. So after that, I have been messaging with a couple guys who have been like sending me other posts of other sketches. And in fact, that's how I found out about the Indiana Jones mid 2008 product from Topps, where it had sketches in it, because I just got one where it's like Indiana Jones and his dad flying in the plane from the third movie. And the sketch is just like, it's a fold out booklet, and it looks amazing. It's on its way. I think it actually got delivered today, so I haven't actually seen it in person, but it's just like, oh man, I love that movie for many different reasons. And now I have like this sketch card that's like larger than a normal card. And it just creates so much desire to be like, oh, I want others to see this. And I already have ideas of what I'm going to be doing in my office to display this. I think we all find something in the hobby that makes us want to do or gives us these similar feelings. For me, it's that, and it's kind of been triggered even more so lately. I'm curious, what do you have on display where
Yeah, well, I mean, so it's actually in front of me. So, but like I have a ton of Funko Pops, like everything from Ronald Reagan to the characters from Schitt's Creek to Easy E. I've got some NASCAR diecasts. I have some Hot Wheels. I have some bobbleheads, like various art cards. I was fortunate enough to meet Tinker Hatfield from Nike, who designed many of their shoes. And so I have like a photo I have with him. And then I have stacks and stacks of like 3,000 count boxes of just stuff. And I try and keep everything accessible. God forbid, like anyone were to ever like break in and steal anything. Like, I don't even think they'd know where to start. So
would you say your collection has value to it? Cause like, I feel like mine doesn't have all that much value. Like there's some cards that they're worth a few $100 here and there, but I find like in the non-sport world, unless you just have like, Hollow Charizard, first edition or something like that, you don't have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cards in your collection.
So I don't know, like, again, I know it's like for the podcast listeners, it's going to be hard, but like, so this is a DMX autographed card. He's since passed. Like, I could probably get $1,000 all day for this. Like, this is a Biz Marquee card that's also, unfortunately, he's passed as well. Probably not as valued. The Biz Marquee is Donruss Americana, and the DMX is Pop Century. So yeah.
So are you a Marvel collector at all? Like anything like anything in the non-sport world that's not like actual celebrity or real person?
Not as much Marvel, but I have a bunch of, like I said, I have a bunch of specifically like Stranger Things sketch cards. So again, literally and I like specifically like 11. So these are 5 different cards by 5 different artists. To your point, I mean, not crazy expensive. I think they probably cost anywhere from $75 to $150, give or take, because obviously Stranger Things is popular, 11's popular. So, I appreciate, I mean, especially after listening to the last episode, I appreciate the amount of work that goes into that for all of the artists. So, being able to buy a small piece of art and support the work that they're doing is, I love being able to do that as a collector.
We've talked in generalities about a number of different topics. I appreciate that we've kind of talked about the different aspects of different communities within non-sports, because that's kind of what we've been discussing, is how there are a lot of different areas for the non-sport collector. It is something that I feel like as I do this show, I'm appreciating more and more the intricacies of those individual communities, because the sketch world is totally different than the Pokemon world, and the Pokemon world is totally different than the historical auto or historical card collector world. There's a lot of different parts of it that make up this non-sport world. So my question to you is, with the fact that there are so many things, why is it that we continue to call them non-sport cards? Shouldn't we have a different name for our cards? Like, granted, we could say historical cards. We could say, my Pokemon cards, but I feel like we should have another all-encompassing name that is not non-sport card.
Yeah, it's weird to make a distinction of like sport and non-sport when there's so many niches that like, and then you get into trading cards and you get into Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all these other areas where there's massive communities of people. And like, so I just consider them cards. Like, and I'm either going to collect sports cards or I'm going to collect anything and everything else. But I also like draw the line, like, as we've talked before, that I'm not a TCG person, but like you can still have, like, I was at my local card shop this weekend and there was a guy who was there who was like, breaking a ton of new Pokemon. And I was just kind of watching and learning and listening and stuff, because it's a world that I I think I just missed that world, like when I stopped collecting. And then, there's a lot of information to learn, and I feel like, you're either in it or not. But he happened to comment on my sneakers, like, because he was a sneaker collector. So I think it's just like people are collectors in general. And like, the nice thing is there's product out there for everyone. If you're not a big sports fan, there's a ton of other stuff. Or if you're a wrestling fan, or if you're a NASCAR fan, or if you're a music fan or a TV show fan, like the odds are you can find something. You probably can find cards, but you certainly can find like collectibles in general, which is a great thing. And at every price point, because not everyone can afford, thousands of dollars for boxes or hundreds of dollars for boxes. And so there's things that are more accessible that can still be just as fun, especially if you're getting, kids into it or bringing other people into the hobby, which I think you guys have done a fantastic job of being able to do.
I appreciate it. And it is funny as I collect and see more people, what they're collecting, the types of things they collect. It's a very rare thing where people are only collecting cards. If they collect things like cards, they're often collecting other things as well. But as we talk specifically about cards, mainly on this podcast, it does make me also appreciate that, that was what, like the question I raised about like the whole naming of sports cards versus non-sport cards. Andre Pashtag, I believe, from the mailbag I posted up in the non-sports cards nonsense group, which I know just by pointing out that the name of the Facebook group is non-sports cards nonsense is kind of an issue. But he was raising that same question, is like, when do we find a replacement term for this side of the hobby? And I don't know, I've pointed out, like, some people call them other, which I kind of hate. I don't like that. Then others call them entertainment cards. But historical cards wouldn't necessarily fall in that category. I just feel like there are people who have concerns and they want to voice them. And I feel like this podcast is the first time where the non-sport community kind of gets the opportunity to do that. So that being said, can I throw out some other, since you're a fellow collector, very similar to me, I figured I would do some of this mailbag with you on here in case you got a different opinion. Hayes Chandler Hudson, which is a very regular name if you listen to the SCN podcast as well. He says, why are there not more horror movie cards? He says, horror collectors will collect anything horror related. We need more horror cards. He says, I did see that Pop Century did an insert set, which that's the first thing I thought of, because I know that Pop Century, I'm not really into horror movies, but I know that Pop Century has made sets, and I have seen that people go out of their way to try and get some of those cards. I didn't realize just how passionate the horror genre collector is, but I've seen the same. Have you as well?
Topps actually did. In fact, I did a piece on it. Topps did a series in the mid 80s called Fright Flicks. And they took some of the top horror movies like Nightmare on Elm Street and some of the others. And they did cards around that too. And I mean, I if you look at prices on eBay, like for, again, condition wise, you can still get like, a good set of cards for a reasonable amount of money. If you want to find something in mint condition, it's going to be a little bit more pricey. But it is a huge community of people. So, I mean, I hear him, and I think that is one of those things where, like, me, even now, like Final Destination is in theaters, who's to say that, like, there might be some huge Final Destination fans. So, if there's a market, people will make it. And I think horror fans are passionate collectors. The guy who played Candyman last year passed away, and like his cards immediately spiked, and it just kind of drew a lot of people in, where I think that you can really kind of do some interesting things. So
yeah, I've seen the same, but it's also made me wonder, because we see a lot of some of these horror cards, I'm I'm sorry, people. I'm saying it as best as I can without taking a lot of time out to explain, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm not going to do it past this, but the horror cards that I have seen seem to be sell very well. But it also makes me think, well, maybe it's because there's just not that many of them, and they're actually the right amount for the market that is chasing them. So it's like, yes, they go up in value, which that's kind of what most people want their cards to do, but they're not too over the top. I honestly kind of think like the amount of horror cards that are out there fits what's needed. However, I'm sure like if you were to do sets of a movie or something like that, it could be very popular. But I also think the maker of that product, it makes me wonder if you would see something from Topps and or Upper Deck or another big company that would put out like, Insidious, I think is like one of these horror movies, right? And I don't see them doing something that is too off the beaten path for like family friendly cards. It doesn't seem like that's something that a bigger company would do.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Topps doing like bringing back Fright Flicks or something like that, or some other movie franchise doing a Chrome version of it, or like even maybe doing a Topps Now or something like that. I feel like if there's the demand there, then I feel like now is the time that they'll probably try something like that. But again, I think the market determines everything.
Agreed. Andrew Larson, what hobby nonsense cards are you currently collecting for your PC? Sets I'm putting together or saving up for specific autos? I honestly, I kind of mentioned it already, the fact that I'm getting into Jack Porkins and just sketches in general, and that I've gotten a few of those. I am curious, do you have any sets and or PC items that you're specifically chasing?
So I collect specifically Frank Sinatra cards and Jane Mansfield cards as well. So those are obviously vintage cards, usually gum or chocolate or like other promotional things that were, during the 40s, 50s, and 60s usually. So I always try and find random lots and pick them up and add them to the collection if I can. I've also been doing more like concert tickets and other things that are kind of related to cards. So that's always kind of fun. And then again, I mean, with the Pop Century stuff and the, Wild Card and some of the other people that are doing things, like I picked up a Bobby Brown, like the R&B rapper singer. Yeah, I picked up his card. I was like, that's kind of cool. And,
because I know that Topps is like so synonymous with card collecting, and I know that Leaf is kind of like, well, they were the only ones that were really putting out a decent quality celebrity auto product. You mentioned Wild is also starting to do that, and I've seen like another company or two doing something similar. But it's like, unless it's Upper Decks, some of their like Marvel and or DC licensed stuff, and they've done a few other things that I like that's licensed, I don't chase it like I do a Topps product. And I think it's because I find there to be more legitimacy in the market overall for that, whether it's because I think I might resell it, or if I just think like, oh, I want to have like a respectable collection, and I want like there could be a sketch artist who does the exact same card that I may have already wanted and or collected, but I don't care about it as much unless it has the Topps name or logo on the back of it, or it has official licensing a part of it. And I think I know there are others that feel that way. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I think it falls into, the same conversation could be had on the sports side as well. It's, people who are like the licensed stuff, or like, are willing to do unlicensed stuff because they want a particular player, or they want like a relic that is actually worn by a player or used in a game. Like there's all these conversations, and I think it permeates non-sports as well. But it's just, if you like something and that happens to be the only one that's made, like I don't know of another Bobby Brown autograph made by anyone, Topps or otherwise, that's, quote unquote licensed. So, my options are limited if that's really what I want to do. Like, I'm not aware of a Damon John card that was produced before, from Shark Tank, before his appearance in V Friends. So I think, and obviously, like, talking about the sketch cards, I mean, there's lots of sketch artists, trying to make a living who will do cards, on commission as well. So, I mean, I would much rather have a custom one of one, literally one of one, not a one of one from, one of the many others. And have that as something that I love and I want, and I'm willing to pay for it. And again, it goes back to the market. Like, for as many people who don't want, the same things that I do, like, that's okay, because that just means that there's more for me, or maybe I get it for a cheaper price.
Well, and I'm glad that there are people like you, because I want these art, because they couldn't survive. I think a lot of artists and or just collectors in general want this, but I don't think they could do what they do on a regular basis or make it their living if it weren't for the fact that they could do these side hustles or these commission jobs. My thinking though is like, I want what is possible from the product itself, because if it was like a sketch of something that was not from the product, I want to commission them to do like a 5x7 or something larger to where I could put that on even bigger display. I don't know, when it comes to the card, the specific collecting of the card, I like the bougie champagne tastes of having the name brand associated with it, but I know for a fact I'm not the only one, because you see all the people that collect the other items that are out there, and I have no problem with that. And that's why I like Pop Century too. Like you said, sometimes there's only one place you can get some of this stuff. So
we'll pour one up for Robin Leach. Lifestyles the rich and famous. But yeah, it's the thing is, I mean, the nice thing is you can do both, because you can chase the cards, you can break the cards, you can buy the cards on eBay if you want, or wherever you purchase your cards. And if you want to commission an artist to do something that you either don't get because you didn't get it when you chased it, or like you want something different because of a different character, I mean, I think that's a cool way to look at things as well.
I agree. One other thing, I was going to mention this earlier in the show, as a card that I ripped. I got in a break. I bought into other breaks. I as a breaker, I think some people just assume like, oh, well, we don't buy into other breaks necessarily, or we'll just buy it from ourselves. I don't buy my own supply. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you do that, I've gotten burned too many times where I will end up pulling a nice card, and then it's like, oh, well, everybody else hates me now because I'm the breaker and I'm pulling the best stuff out of it. Well, that being said, there was somebody on Fanatics Live breaking some 2024 Marvel Topps Chrome, which I'm still a big fan of. And apparently a lot of other people are, because those cases are going for crazy money right now. And I got a Mystique out of 5 in that case break. Oh, wow. And I'm just like, it has renewed like my love of Marvel. And it is funny how one good hit in a product, like in a breaking product, becomes a thing like, oh, now I have to chase more of this. And it doesn't necessarily need to be breaks. I can go out and buy singles, but it is funny how that kind of creates a demand within me just by hitting one good card. I'm curious. I am curious if other people are like that, but I know for me, it was like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to like the V Friends Entrepreneur Elf cards. There's a Michael Rubin, CEO of Fanatics card in there, like, and there's an auto version of it. And the auto version, I mean, looking at it, it's like right now it's like $300 and above, like if not more. And so the nice thing about entering a break is like, if you picked them up for a break, let's say you paid $50 or plus or minus, you might be able to pick up a card of his. And like, otherwise the alternative is to obviously pay full boat.
Yeah, exactly. AAN Collect says, which dual auto are you more excited about? Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, or Tom Hanks, Tim Allen? Now I have my answer. I'm curious what you would say.
Josh Allen, Haley Steinfeld.
How dare you mention a sports player on this podcast, sir?
No, but she's an actress, and arguably she's probably worth more, at least to me. So,
Well, I'll tell Danielle of 13 years that you said that, but that's okay. I personally, I'm a Tom Hanks, Tim Allen man. I think Hugh Jackman's great, and I think Ryan Reynolds is hilarious. Ever since Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, I've been watching him. But yeah, the Tom Hanks, Tim Allen seems to hit a little closer to home, I feel like.
I'll take the Ryan Reynolds side. I loved Welcome to Wrexham, like the whole story about like their soccer team, and like, you know, I collected some of the cards from there as well. So yeah, I mean, I think he just seems like he'd be a cool guy to hang out with. So,
but since that auto does not come with a pass to hang out with him, I think I'm gonna go with my Tim Allen, Tom Hanks. But that's good because we can share that way. So. All right, I'm gonna do a couple more. I'm just hitting the ones that have more to do with things that we've talked about and or things that you're into. I'm gonna save some of the other stuff for maybe after the interview. But let's see. Hank Parrish wants to know if you could go back in time and purchase any set, what would it be and why? I feel like this question is like a loaded question because I know the moment I give an answer, I would come up with a different product. Because I don't know. Like I honestly, I could not tell you at this very moment what set it would be. And I say that because I immediately think of Back to the Future, but I have a Back to the Future set because when I go back, I'm not thinking about the money necessarily. Because granted, there's the classic answer of get the most expensive one that you could take to the future and then sell and buy whatever you wanted. Let's actually think of this in a fun way, not a stupid way like that. But yeah, that's the thing. I would want the thing that I cared more about back when I was younger that was harder to get. And maybe that is just a Back to the Future 2, like perfect mint condition box. I honestly don't know, because I could also say the same thing for like the Nintendo Variety Pack box that I don't have that I really want as well. So, any thoughts for yourself?
I feel like the good thing we talked about earlier is a lot of those sets aren't crazy expensive, like because they didn't have inserts. So like I went and bought the Dukes of Hazzard set, which was like under $100 for sure for the full set. And it like gave me such a sense of nostalgia. So nothing comes to mind that I would go back. I think there's probably some people that I might have collected and had the foresight to collect, you know, like especially a lot of the earlier Pop Century art autographs, you know, like I don't know, like a Pamela Anderson or Britney Spears or somebody else, where like now those are crazy valuable. So especially the Britney Spears ones, I mean, over $1,000, like, whereas you probably could have picked them up at the time for, you know, pennies on the dollar.
There's Britney Spears Pop Century cards?
Yeah, she was in like maybe 20. There are definitely Britney Spears like authentic autographs, printing plates, all of that stuff. They don't come up a ton, but like if you Google them, you'll find them. And you know, depending upon where she is in the popularity, you know, anywhere from 500 to 1,500.
Wow. I'd be surprised if it's less than 1,000. I don't think I've ever really seen any Britney Spears card before. And I know no matter what you think of her as an artist today, there's enough people out there who would definitely want a Britney Spears card just because of like the nostalgia factor of it. That's really cool. All right, let me see. Another question would be, let's see, John Dudley, who I believe he also is a writer on collectibles on SI, but he also writes for the SCN newsletter. He says, would you rather have an actor's first card or the first card of them as their most iconic character? I like this question a lot because I've had the same dilemma where it's like, oh, I want the rookie, right? Like I want their first appearance card, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, I want people to see that card and know like my Jim Carrey is like Jim Carrey from Ace Ventura, not Jim Carrey from Man on the Moon, which granted, I would love both, to be honest, but,
or Jim Carrey from The Mask,
or, you know, exactly. So it's like, and maybe I'm just a Jim Carrey card auto card collector as is, and I just want all of his main characters, right? That would be.
Yeah, I was going to say, why can't you have both?
Exactly. So I feel like it really depends on the card. If I'm chasing like because I think there's going to be value in it, then maybe I am going after the rookie. But if I'm chasing for PC and just because I like the actor, I don't care. I want the actor's character on the card. The other day I bought myself a I mentioned I think on here Helen Hunt auto from Twister when she was actually like from her character in the movie, and it was from a Twister set that the boxes go for like $500. It's funny how like some of these movies like in TV shows that you might not even know existed. And there are times where I've searched and I'm like, nope, that doesn't exist. I would have found it. And then all of a sudden someone pops up with a product that it's like, it was just so obscure or it was only in Canada or something like that, where it's like, oh, wow, there are really things that do have value that people don't even know are out there because they are so rare.
Well, it's like the Kanye West and Taylor Swift card that I know that you know so well as well. I mean, those boxes probably sat forever, and then all of a sudden, kind of people realized that was the first appearance, and all of a sudden, prices go through the roof.
Exactly. But that's the thing. Taylor Swift is not doing any of she's not playing her music. She's not doing anything in her, as an entertainer. It's not her as an entertainer. That's just her as a person and the moment of what happened in that event. It's almost more of a historical card than anything, but because it's like the first time that we are aware of that she was on a card, or at least maybe a license card, then that's why there's so much value there. Question is, what is the story or reason behind the fact that Charizard, or the Charizard card, is the iconic card for Pokemon? What would you think? Or would you would think that it would be Pikachu or another original starter Pokemon that would be the primary one? I am curious, as someone who's not really into Pokemon, self-professed. Do you recognize Charizard as like the main card in the Pokemon world?
So I certainly recognize the characters, even if I don't collect. And it would seem that Charizard is probably like everyone seems to get really excited when they get one. So it seems like one of the main characters would probably be the main thing. But
well, and he points out, like, is it because it was more short printed than the others? I don't know if that's the case, personally, but I would say too, it was one of the. I mean, when I got my Game Boy Color, there was like Pokemon Red and Blue. I got Pokemon Red. My brother got Pokemon Blue, and I was Charizard. He was Blastoise, and that was, I mean, technically I was Charmander, and then I evolved him, and so on and so forth. But the point being is, like, I don't know. I had this direct connection also from the cartoon series, where yes, Pikachu was a central character in the cartoon series, but Charizard was the powerful character, and he was like, at the end of the day, you want your card to dominate all other cards. And is that going to be like the little electric mouse, or is that going to be the big fire-breathing dragon? And that, to me,
like is Megatron and Skeletor.
Thank you for the non-Pokemon. Now you can understand what I'm saying because of that reference. Yeah. Thank you very much, Lucas. Just keep the references to me, okay, jock over there. But the idea that you are getting such a bigger than life character, I think, is one of the reasons why it has become synonymous with the main card in the Pokemon world, because that's just the type of card that would signify dominance in any collection. So that could be completely wrong, and that's just my opinion.
A chain and wear around your neck.
Exactly. So thank you, Logan Paul, for all you've done for this hobby. All right. I think that's about it. I look back at our conversation, and I don't know if there was like a real overall central theme to everything that we talked about, but I've wanted to talk to you as a collector for a while, and I know that you have a really cool and similar collection to me, and I think that this is just a fun conversation, and that's kind of what this.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, and the thing is, I mean, everyone collects differently. Everyone collects different things, and that's the beauty of it all. And I love the show because you always have like experts who go really deep on things. But I would agree with you. I'm kind of the, I think you said jack of all trades or Swiss Army knife. Like, that's just how I do it. And that's the fun part of things. And the fun part is always learning from other people, because like, unless you're the biggest collector of anything, there's always going to be somebody who's a bigger collector.
Oh yeah. And I want to talk to those people that are the biggest collectors out there. And I will put this out to anybody listening. If you have people suggestions, I throw this out in the non-sports cards nonsense Facebook group sometimes. And I need to make this aware on other social platforms as well, but I am always all ears for suggestions of who you guys want to hear from or have on the show. And then they don't necessarily have to even be specifically to cards, as I've had, toy flippers on the show before. I like to keep it to cards a lot of the time, but you have an interesting person or someone who's interesting enough, I'm more than happy to reach out. So I ask that you continue to feed those to me, because baby wants num-nums. That's all. All right.
Feed the beast.
Feed the beast. Lucas Mast, thank you so much. Thank your wife for allowing you to step away on this day where I just assume you're showering her with rose petals constantly. Anniversaries are big in our house, so I'm very happy for you on your 13 years. Congratulations, and thank you for coming on the pod today.
Awesome. Yeah, and if people want to read my articles, they can follow on Collectibles on SI. And they also have a Collectibles Life newsletter that comes out daily too. So you'll be able to see all the things that I'm writing and digging into.
Lucas Mast, there you go, ladies. Actually, Lucas, before you go, what do you do for a living? You're not a writer.
No, I'm actually so by education, I'm a lawyer. By experience, I've worked for Fortune 500 companies in social media and content marketing and communications. And I'm currently working for a mortgage technology company called Blue Sage Solutions. So,
Lucas Mast, thank you again, and happy anniversary. We'll talk to you soon, man. That is your show for the most part. I actually, before we end it, I did want to hit these last few questions in the mailbag, because thank you to everybody who wrote in. I'm going to try and hit everybody's if I can. The ones that we've already talked about, those are good. So last of these questions, Trent wants to know, with the increase in Pokemon sales, do you see this as good or bad for the market? Are we going to see a crash in the next 6 to 12 months, or will this be the new norm like sports cards after COVID? I think we've already seen some correction in that, Trent. I think that the market in some places is coming back down, right? Some ETBs are not selling for what Prismatic was going for. They're definitely not selling for what Win 51 is continuing to sell for. And it all depends on the card itself, right? Because some of the cards have stayed up in value. Your Charizard from 151 has done well. Your Umbreon, Sunbreon, Moonbreon, whatever you want to call it, the multiple different evolutions of that character, those cards continue to do well depending on the set. But there's others that have since fallen in price, and I think we will continue to see an ebb and flow, and that's a good thing. That is a very good thing. We don't want it to just spike and then continue to spike, because inevitably it would crash. And it's a good thing too, because it leaves more dollars out there for new products and for people coming in to be able to buy something that it has potential to be a high priced item. Because I want that, right? Don't we all? Like, we want the new product that comes out. We want there to be cards in there that have higher values. But if everything has stayed high in value, like if things didn't start coming back down, then who would have the budget to be able to continue to buy into that? And then inevitably, if people don't have the money to buy it, then the prices just drop on their own, and then you do see crashes. So that being said, I think the Pokemon market is seeing a return to some normalcy in areas, and in other areas, it may just be how we go from now on, so long as the demand continues. Brian Sholm wants to know, what's your favorite Pokemon game? It was Pokemon Game Boy Color Pokemon Blue. No, excuse me, Pokemon Red. That was my favorite. So thank you for asking that, Brian. I do appreciate you. Patrick Schoeffel, he says, I'm still cracking open boxes of What If, trying to get all of the parallel sets completed. That's just more of a comment than anything, but now we know that. And I hope you get all of the parallel sets and then some, Patrick. Congratulations. Last question, it looks like in here, is Kevin Barlow. With the popularity of sketch cards arising, he says arising instead of rising, and I like that. With the popularity of sketch cards rising, do you think it's a good idea to separate sketch cards and true art cards into separate categories? With the revelations from recent podcasts with the sketch artist about hours that they put into sketch cards, I feel like there should be separate categories. A sketch is a quick drawing, whereas something with more than 2 hours tends to be a bit more elaborate and detailed. More of a true art card, if you say. What's your opinion on this? You know what, Kevin? I didn't read this question before recording. It actually came in, I think, once we started recording. I like that. Like a true art versus a sketch. Now, granted, I don't know. Like it's hard, right? Like we just talked about changing non-sport to something else. And it would be difficult. But you make a compelling argument that a sketch is something a little simpler versus like a true art card. I'll tell you what, I'll try and promote it. I like it. This has been Hobby Nonsense. Until next week, it's your boy, Sports Boy, signing off. Goodbye.